Hey guys, I'm back with another new interesting podcast. Today our guest is Chase sir from Netflix. If you want to become a software engineer in Netflix, so this podcast can be for you. So guys, Netflix is a super amazing company for working, and if you want to become a software engineer in Netflix, then this podcast can be for you. So let's get started. Before that, what you have to do is you share and let's get started. And thank you so much, Chase sir, for coming. Over to you, sir.
Sweet. Yeah. So my name's Chase. I graduated from Brigham Young University in 2022, and then I started as a full-time employee at Netflix right after that as a new grad, which is super exciting for me. That's kind of like a quick 5 mile or mile high overview.
Superb, sir. Okay. So, sir, suppose, sir, our audience is students and some of professional workers. They want to become a software engineer in Netflix company. So what they need to do? First step.
Yeah, so I think the biggest thing for me, I think there were two main things that got me to where I am. The first one is having some work experience on my resume. So I had an internship that I had worked at for a year. It wasn't anything super prestigious. It was just a local coding company. But I think just having something on your resume is really big for getting your first job. So just work anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're getting paid a lot or not, or if it's a cool company, just do your very best to get some work experience on your resume. And try to work in some cool languages. I think React is super popular. Java is really big with companies. Just any way you can get experience with that, especially work experience, is going to be huge for your resume. So I'd strongly recommend work experience in popular languages or frameworks is going to be really big. So the first thing is work experience. The second thing I think is interview prep. So interestingly enough, the industry we live in is one where the interview is very different from the actual job. So being good at coding is not going to necessarily mean that you're actually good at interviewing. So I'm not sure what the best sites are. I use LeetCode quite a bit. I know HackerRank is really popular. Just anything like that. Solve as many of those problems as you can, and that'll prepare you super well for especially new grad level interviews. If you can do easy and medium LeetCodes, I think you're going to have no problem in the interviews of a lot of big companies. Not Netflix specific, just anywhere you go. So my two recommendations are: do anything you can to get work experience, and then grind hard on LeetCode. So you should have solved a few hundred LeetCode problems, and at that point, you're going to be fine. There's a list called NeetCode 500 or NeetCode 100 or something. It's the top 100 interview questions. I'd strongly recommend going through all of those. Of the people who I know who've gotten jobs, a lot of their interviews have come straight from that list. So if you can solve that list, you're 95% there for getting a good job.
Wow, amazing, sir. Your advice is super amazing. And sir, let's move on to the next question. The next question is, suppose sir, we have prepared for interview, and from where we should apply for interview?
Yeah, so I think for me, I just thought in my head about the companies I'd want to work for, and then I went one by one on their sites. And so I had a nice little resume that I worked on. I had shown it to a few of senior engineer friends, gotten some feedback on it, and then improved it. So make a resume, and then get feedback on your resume. And then once you have a good resume and you're ready to start doing interviews or whatever, I just went to all these different companies, their websites, and just applied on their site. I found that job hunting sites are less effective at getting you jobs. So applying through maybe LinkedIn or Indeed is another big one. Just applying there, I've heard they get tens of thousands of applications for even basic job openings. So if there's any way you can go to a more niche application portal, the company's direct portal, that's going to be better for you, I think. So just go to their websites, find their career section. Every website has it. Maybe it's in the footer, maybe wherever. Click on that and then just apply on their website. And just apply everywhere. If you're not casting a wide net, you're not going to catch a lot of fish or something. So just go to every company you can think of that's good and just apply. You can always not work there or not accept an offer or not do their online assessment or whatever, but the first step is just getting some sort of base level interest. And if you don't have that, you're not going to get anywhere. So apply everywhere. So make a resume, review it with professionals in the field, and then apply to every single company you can. And then once you've applied, to get the actual interview, a lot of companies will have you do online assessments. I've heard there's really hard drop-off of people just not taking online assessments. So like any online assessment you get, do it. It seems so like obvious, but a lot of people just don't do online assessments, and then they miss out on offers they could have gotten. So apply a ton, do your online assessment, and if you do leak code preparation, you'll be set on the online assessments for most of them at least.
Wow, superb, sir. So there is question, sir. How much interview rounds there?
So after I applied online, I got an online assessment. So that was like the first step, and I think there were 3 or 4 problems. It was, I think, a code signal or something like that, and I did reasonably well on that. And then once I had finished the code signal, I had like a technical screening. So it was a 1-hour like leak code style interview. I don't remember what the question was. I think it was probably a leak code medium. It wasn't dynamic programming. It was a stack question. So I was able to like solve that and do pretty well. And then after that, I had like a round of 3 interviews where there's like 3 interviews back to back. So it was a technical interview, and then a system design interview, and then a like culture fit interview. So then after I finished those, so I originally applied for the back-end position, but I had more front-end experience. So the recruiter's like, hey, we liked how you performed on those interviews. We're going to have you do a front-end interview to see if you'd be a good fit for a front-end role. So I did that. I guess I passed that interview well enough. And then after I had passed the front-end interview, I got put in, had like a little like one-on-one with my future manager. And then that went well. So then I got an offer, and then that was it for me. So it was quite a few interviews, but just all the leak code and stuff prepped me. Definitely like, it'll tell you this, like you should definitely read through, if you're getting to like the close to the end of the interview process and they're saying there's going to be like a culture interview, you should definitely like read up on the culture of the company and see what they're thinking, so that you can like, be prepared for that.
Cool, sir. Sir, let's move on to the next question. The next question is, how is the work culture in Netflix?
Yeah, so it's pretty chill. So I've heard some horror stories from other companies about people who are like having to work like, I don't know, 60, 70-hour work weeks. But Netflix is definitely not like that. It's really chill. I have coworkers who are working not very many hours a week, but they're able to get their work done, so it works out. Most of the time, I think most people are working probably 35 to 40 hours a week. And you just put in your time, you work hard, and then they're cool about it. It depends on your manager, of course, and your team, but the teams I've heard of are all like pretty like, hey, just work hard and that's good. You don't need to be like giving up your whole life for this. So I think it's pretty good work-life balance. So yeah, I definitely recommend.
Wow, super. So sir, let's move on to the next question. The major question is, how much salary I can expect if I join the Netflix?
Yeah, so I think it depends on the amount of experience you have. So there's a really cool website called levels.fyi that kind of aggregates a lot of salary data for a lot of the different top companies. I think so the starting salary for like E3, which is entry level like new grad positions. So there's actually E2, which is the intern position. I'm not sure what they make. There's not a ton of like interns. E3 is the new grad. I think all the new grads are starting at around 200K of salary, and then there's some like bonuses up to like 20K or more, depending on if you negotiate or whatever. There's just a few other like little small things. So just north of like, I think 200,000 is where you'll be starting.
Okay, so sir, sounds really good about the salary. So can you sir please tell us about the taxes?
Yeah, so it depends on where you're going to be living. So in the United States, the tax system is dependent on so some parts are dependent on your state, some parts are not. So for federal income tax, I think you end up paying about close to 30%, maybe 25 to 30%, depending on, I don't know exactly how much you make or how much you defer through your 401k, stuff like that. But then there's federal tax, and you also have to pay state income tax for some states. So some states don't have income tax. So if you're working remotely in, say, Seattle, I'm fairly confident they don't have an income tax there. So you're gonna be saving a few percent a year. I think my effective tax rate is somewhere between 30 and 40%. So yeah, it's definitely quite steep, but it is what it is, I guess.
Because that is the truth.
Yeah.
Okay. So, sir, can you please give advice to our audience who wants to pursue a career similar to you?
Yeah. So I think just like work hard in school, get good grades. I think a lot of what gets you an interview is work experience and then having like a decent GPA. It doesn't need to be a 4.0. Mine certainly wasn't. But if you have like maybe like less than a 2 GPA, you might be in trouble. Less than a 3, also maybe not going to get as many interviews. But if you can show like, a decent GPA, that's going to be good for employers, I think. I think they care a little bit. It doesn't actually matter once you graduate and once you get your first job, but getting your first job, I think it helps.
Thank you so much, sir, for your advice. And guys, if you get some useful information about the Netflix, then hit the like and subscribe button and share with your friends also, so they can also understand how to join Netflix. And thank you so much, sir, for your timing and for your advice.
Yeah, thanks.